Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and welcome back to week 6 of the WBE VGC League. I'm the coach of the Melbourne Rotoms, and this week we're going up against Jack, the coach of the 8 Hawluchas. As always, I'm going to do a quick breakdown of the standings, talk about the matchup, talk about the team I'm going to be bringing, and then get into the actual battle. So if you're really interested in the battle, check out the timestamp linked in the description below. But I hope everyone's been enjoying the WBE VGC League, and thanks as always for supporting the Melbourne Rotoms. To kick off this week, though, we're going up against Jack, like I mentioned, who is one of the only 2 undefeated coaches in the league. So it's going to be a really fun one. I think Jack has one of the craziest and one of the strongest drafts in the entire league. And I'm really excited to go up against someone that's just, been able to be super consistent in the league thus far. He's also been super impressive because he told me that his first VGC matches were basically in this league outside of a couple of games on Showdown. So he's really, new and fresh to the game as well. But he's been able to pick it up really quickly. And I think both his teams are always really, really incredible in terms of preparation, as well as his actual play. He's clearly, been able to pick up the fundamentals of doubles and VGC very, very quickly. So eager to go up against them. I'll talk about the matchup in just a little bit. But if you look at the standings right now, obviously we took a loss last week. And it was a rough one because I felt like, I could have done a little bit more in prep, but I was actually pretty happy with the team I brought last week still, and I think it was just more down to execution and play. I didn't really adhere to some of my game plans, and, obviously game 2 last week was just kind of a toss on my end, so want to make sure that we kind of fix that up going into the future. I do think one key lesson I learned from last week is that if I'm bringing a Pokemon to hard counter like a Dynamax threat, I have to cover for all the options of that Dynamax threat. Last week, for example, I ran Choice Scarf Torracat for Durant, but didn't really consider the possibility of Focus Sash Durant. So as a result, the Torracat was super useless after turn 1. So that's something I want to keep in mind in the future if I'm, bringing a set specifically to counter the Pokemon that I think is going to be Dynamaxing. So as a result of losing last week, we are 4-1 now. As you can see, standings are pretty tight. Like I mentioned, I think the goal is obviously to just secure playoffs. I'm less concerned about where we finished in the regular season as long as we can make playoffs. So it's more about learning from each of the games and trying to adapt our style and gameplay. And I'll be making some free agency picks at the end of this week. So next week we'll have some new Pokemon that hopefully will help us in the remainder couple of weeks as we get into the second half of the league. So yeah, currently at 4th, we're going up against Jack, who is 2nd, but the standings are super close. A win or a loss can really bring anyone up immediately or down a couple of spots. So yeah, let's talk about the actual matchup for the week. As you can see, I've actually created a new kind of graphic, so if this is something that you find more visually appealing, let me know. I wanted to make something like this so that it's more easy for you guys to digest and kind of see how I bucket and think about all of this. And so, as you can see, you see my Pokemon on the left side and my opponent's Pokemon on the right side, and what I've done is basically tiered them into 3 different categories. For my side, it's Pokemon that I think I have to bring, Pokemon that I was debating about bringing, Pokemon that I think I was never even really considering. On the right side, for my opponents, you can see Pokemon that I expect to see from them, Pokemon that I think are likely to come out, but I don't know which ones are definitely coming out, whereas like the top ones I'm really confident on, and then Pokemon that I think are just unlikely to come out in the matchup whatsoever. So by creating this, and hopefully I think it'll be a little bit more easy for you to see how I'm thinking about all of it. So I kind of threw this together just in a couple of minutes, but happy to adjust it based off what the feedback is. But going into this week, Jack's draft is super, super good because he has a lot of cool things and nice synergies. One core that he has is actually Sneasel, Virizion, and Coalossal. And if you watch Road to Rank recently at all, you'll see that we actually played with a team with Weavile, Coalossal, and Virizion, and that team was super strong. So this core itself is just really good in VGC, and it's because we're playing in a format where there aren't as many flying or fire types. It's not like there's a Cinderace or a Togekiss on every team, so Virizion thrives a little bit more in the metagame specifically. Virizion also covers some of the biggest threats to Coalossal, and if you actually look at my team, Virizion looks super, super scary, especially because it actually has a really incredible base special defense. So, while I can hit it for super effective damage with Pokemon like Whimsicott or Primarina, it's never going to be able to one-shot the Virizion. Virizion gets super effective attacks into us in return, so makes it a pretty huge threat. So the core I'm actually expecting from Jack is Sneasel, Virizion, and Indeedee. Sneasel to obviously just enable the Virizion, and then when Sneasel goes down, you can bring Indeedee and just get redirection support. Virizion itself, I have a couple of answers to, but the problem is that if you bring in redirection support, then I can't actually KO the Virizion, right? Because all my attacks will get redirected. So I think those 3 are definitely coming out. And I think Steelix is also definitely coming out because it's a really good answer to things like Excadrill and Gigalith, especially with its crazy high base defense. In terms of Pokemon that I think are likely to come out from Jack's end, I think Coalossal is an interesting one, right? I have so many Coalossal counters in Excadrill and Primarina, but for example, if I don't bring those Pokemon and Coalossal comes out, I'm pretty much just going to lose the game. It's going to sweep through my entire team. So for that reason, that's why I have Excadrill and Primarina under the must-bring category. I think if I'm bringing Excadrill, Gigalith is pretty much a must-bring, especially considering that Jack's team is pretty fast, so the Gigalith at least allows me to outspeed with the Excadrill. And then Whimsicott, I mean, I haven't not brought. It's just so good as a support Pokemon. And once again, I think Tailwind's valuable because Tailwind plus Sand means that Excadrill will outspeed everything on his end. So I still want to have Coalossal answers because if not, I'm just going to hard lose to it. But Jack could very well make the call and say, well, I don't think you're going to bring the, I don't think you're going to, you're going to bring answers to my Coalossal, so I'm not going to bring it. So that totally could be the case. We'll have to see. Other Pokemon I think are likely to come. Clodsir he's been playing a lot with. I think scares me a little bit because, of course, it's just a decently bulky water type Pokemon that can do a lot of damage. And I don't have that many great Psychic resists, so if you set up the Psychic terrain, it can actually go for a Terrain Pulse, which, you know, definitely hurt. And then Beheeyem and Hawlucha. Now, I know that he's used Beheeyem once to set up Trick Room, and I think I'm not really expecting it to see it too much in this matchup, but if it comes out, Gigalith is my answer. That's why Gigalith is also kind of a must-bring, because Gigalith actually outspeeds his entire team under Trick Room. So, yeah, that covers the Trick Room aspect if it ends up coming out. And Hawlucha, I think, is always a threat, especially because, you know, it can Dynamax, it can get a boost immediately with either Psychic Terrain or Electric Terrain, and then just kind of sweep through, especially with Knuckles and Airstream, so something I want to keep on my radar. But I think the top 4 Pokemon we're definitely going to see, and then a combination of 2 of the 4 from the likely bucket. The reason why I think Pincurchin and Raichu are highly unlikely is because I have Gigalith and Excadrill, and like Pincurchin and Raichu do super poorly into those, so that core alone I think will deter him away from bringing it, and Doublade I think could be interesting. I might be underestimating it, honestly, but I feel like Excadrill does really well into it, as does Primarina. Even with the Eviolite, I don't think it's super scary. So, yeah. In terms of my side, I've already explained why I've bucketed Whimsicott, Primarina, Gigalith, and Excadrill under there. I think, in terms of possible Pokemon to bring, Bolton, Torracat, Toxtricity, and the Unfezant are all viable. The reason why Bolton's viable is because it's faster than pretty much his entire team before they get boosts off. So, you know, Bolton does have pretty decent coverage, as we saw last week, but my problem is that it doesn't have that good of a base attack, and it's, like, I ran Choice Band last week, right? So if I'm using regular Bolton, it's just super frail, and it'll kind of faint to everything. Torracat's interesting here because it does give me Intimidate, which, you know, helps out against Virizion. I was actually doing some calcs, and Virizion at +3 isn't able to pick up knockouts against Maximons like Excadrill, whereas Virizion at +4 can. So that Intimidate can help out a lot. Plus, you know, Torracat also just pressures with Fake Out. Now, Fake Out's actually less viable here because he's got Immunity plus the Sneasel with Inner Focus, so I'm not actually going to be able to flinch him. So I think, like, it's more because of Intimidate. So that's a possibility. Toxtricity could work because, you know, it gets Sludge Bomb into Virizion, but it doesn't do well into pretty much anything else. I mean, it helps out a little bit against, like, the Clodsir and the Hawlucha, for example, but I feel like I already have answers against those, so I don't necessarily need it. That being said, one of the 2 electric types is somewhat valuable. And Unfezant is actually one I was considering, or am considering, I should say, because there is a Virizion, right? And Unfezant is able to actually just get a one-hit KO with Brave Bird, even if Virizion Dynamaxes, unless he's got Koba Berry. So, I want to take advantage of the fact that Virizion's defense is really low here, and Unfezant allows me to potentially, you know, kind of poke holes through that. So, you know, I was debating between these 8 Pokemon, specifically the 4 with Impossible, and I in the end, I decided that the 2 electric types weren't as good, mainly because they don't do enough damage for me to justify bringing them, whereas Torracat at least offers me Intimidate support, and the Unfezant I think is going to be critical in dealing with the Virizion. And then Bronzor, Glaceon, Duosion didn't really consider at all. I think Glaceon doesn't do anything for us here, and Bronzor and Duosion gives us a Trick Room possibility, but I don't know if I really want to set up Trick Room here, especially because I think I can outpace him with speed with the Excadrill and the Whimsicott. So yeah, that is a breakdown of the matchup. Let's talk about the actual team. Alright, getting into the actual team, as I mentioned, in the end I wanted to go with Torracat and Unfezant, which I'm pretty excited to talk about, so let's just quickly go through all the sets. For Whimsicott this week, I'm just running max special attack, max speed. The reason for this is because Sneasel is just slightly lower base speed, so we want to make sure we outspeed Sneasel. We want to just maximize our damage output and just at 4 in HP. Dazzling Gleam actually has pretty good coverage, or fairy type attacks in general have pretty good coverage against Jack's team. I'm running Dazzling Gleam specifically because of the follow me threat from the Indie D, so it allows me to chip away at the partner. Last week, I basically didn't run any spread moves and kind of got wrecked by ally switch, and so spread moves kind of deter both ally switch and redirection support by allowing me to hit both Pokemon, which is really valuable. So, standard EV spread here. I'm running Koba Berry because I want to run Focus Sash on Gigalith this week. I'll explain why in just a little bit, but I also don't think Sash makes a lot of sense on Whimsicott when it's likely that Whimsicott's either going to eat up a Fake Out or a max move on turn 1 from the opposing end if he's leading Sneasel and Virizion. So, yeah. Koba allows me to survive a max Airstream and then get Tailwind up guaranteed the next turn, so I don't even need to protect Whimsicott in front of Sneasel, potentially. As for the moveset, Tailwind is self-explanatory. I've explained Dazzling Gleam. I want Protect just because he does have Fake Out on his team, and so I think Protect can be valuable just to bypass a turn. But it also gives me the opportunity to Helping Hand. So I have 2 plays to make against Sneasel if he leads it, which is either Helping Hand or Protect, and I think both are pretty valuable. Helping Hand, I also did some calcs, is really valuable with Whimsicott on Pheasant because, as you can see, I'm running a Choice Scarf on Pheasant this week, and so even if he's Koba Berry Virizion, which I know he ran last week, Helping Hand Braver is actually just a one-hit KO on Koba Virizion, Dynamaxed anyway. So I want to run the Helping Hand. I've been doing this a bunch against teams that have Fake Out, and the main reason is because I have higher priority than Fake Out, so I just get a big, attack off. The other really important thing to point out here is that my opponent has Indeedee, which sets up Psychic Terrain. Psychic Terrain means that I cannot get my priority attacks on the opposing side. So moves like Taunt, moves like Tickle, or Fake Tears, for example, which I've run previously on Whimsicott, lose a lot of value because at any point he can switch in the Indeedee. So I actually thought really heavily about running Eject Button Trick this week, which I know Moxie Boosted used to beat Jack in one game previously, where he was able to just Trick Eject Button turn 1 onto Virizion and switch it out. But because he's already lost to that before, I think he's going to be more aware of the Eject Button strategies. Plus, I think that the threat of Indeedee just switching at any point makes it super safe on his end, and it's a big risk for me to take. I don't want to take that risk. I'd rather just play safely and consistently, so I'm not going for the Eject Button. Koba's consistent against the Virizion, and I'd be surprised to see a Coalossal lead given my team. But with Coalossal, I can at least set up a Tailwind and then prepare Excadrill for the late game. Next Pokemon here is Torracat. I'm pretty excited about Torracat this week because, first of all, I'm not running Fake Out. Once again, there's Sneasel with Inner Focus, and it's faster, so I'm not going to be able to Fake Out it, most likely, and there's Indeedee as a switch-in. So instead, Will-O-Wisp and Heatwave are self-explanatory. I want to go special this week because there's the Steelix, and if I don't bring special Torracat, my only special attacker is Primarina, which means if Primarina goes down, Steelix can 1v4 my team. I don't want that to be the case. So I want another special attacker. Torracat was an easy pick, and I'm running Heatwave, similar to how I'm running Dazzling Gleam on Whimsicott because of the threat of Follow Me from the Indeedee. So Heatwave is there, Will-O-Wisp, self-explanatory, Parting Shot, self-explanatory. The last attack is Double Kick, which you might be surprised to see. The idea behind the Double Kick tech is I could lead Whimsicott Torracat against Sneasel and Virizion. After the Intimidate, Virizion will not be able to one-shot either of my Pokemon, even with the Life Orb. Rockfall onto Torracat's not a KO, Airstream onto Whimsicott's not a KO. All I want to do is basically deny the beat up from happening, because if you don't get beat up off, then Virizion is so much less of a threat. So with Whimsicott Torracat, what this allows me to do is Tailwind Double Kick into Sneasel turn 1. It's a super safe play because even if you're Sash Sneasel, I pick up the KO. You can see that I'm actually running Scariest Nature specifically because I was originally Modest. I did the calc and I was like, oh, Sneasel could survive a Double Kick. But if you're just standard Sneasel, like no Bulk, no Eviolite. I don't think you'd run Eviolite this week because Excadrill will just one-shot it anyway with a Rockfall or a Steel Spike. So I think Sash is a very likely item on Sneasel. So for that reason, Whimsicott Torracat's a super safe lead, right? If you go for the beat up immediately, well, Sneasel doesn't even get to move and it just faints. That's the best case scenario. If you go for a Fake Out onto either Pokemon, well, I either get Tailwind up, which is great because then I can burn Virizion the next turn, or I get the Double Kick off while you don't go for the beat up, and then we maybe trade. Well, you wouldn't even knock me out, but knocking out Sneasel means the main beat up threat is out of the way. So I'm trying to figure out as many ways as possible to actually beat the Virizion and Sneasel combination, because if beat up goes off on Virizion, I think we're going to lose this game very likely. So that's something I really have to watch out for. However, because Virizion's such a big threat, this is an excellent week for Unpheasant to come out. Now, Unpheasant is a really, really strong physical attacker, especially with stab flying type attacks. And Virizion's base defense is way worse than its base special defense. And so what this allows us to do is just get a huge Brave Bird off, and that will get a one-hit KO onto a Dynamax Virizion. Now, last week, he ran Koba Berry. So that's something I have to consider as well, because this is like, you know, what happened previously against the Rant, where I didn't consider the possibility of it surviving. Now, once again, I don't think you're going to run a Focus Sash, so the only item that allows you to survive this is a Koba Berry. So this is where Helping Hand comes in play. I could potentially lead Whimsicott on Pheasant and just Helping Hand Brave Bird and pick up a knockout on Koba Berry max HP Virizion, which is a crazy damage calc. So we want max 8 attack, no reason not to. Speed investment allows us to outspeed Hawlucha pre-Berry or pre-Unburden, and then max defense. I don't really feel the need for special defense when you look at his team. The special attacks are going to be knocking us out anyway, so I'd rather put it in defense than HP, because this allows us to survive against Virizion specifically a little bit better. So far, as you can see, everything that I've talked about is very anti-Virizion. I can lead Whimsicott Torracat or Whimsicott on Pheasant as a lead to counter Sneasel Virizion specifically. Next Pokemon is Gigalith. Now, Gigalith's been pretty interesting. We brought it a lot, often to just set up the sand, but, you know, often doesn't do that much damage. This week, I'm opting for a Focus Sash variant. You might be wondering, why would you run Focus Sash? The main reason is because there are a bunch of attacks that could potentially one-shot us from the opposing end. For example, Virizion's the main one, especially if you get the beat up off, right? So the main reason I want Sash is because I want to run Explosion on Gigalith this week. Now, this Explosion used to be kind of common in VGC back like a decade ago, between like 2008 to 2010, but it's not nearly as common anymore. And I think it is just kind of a slept-on move. People don't expect it, and it does so much damage, especially against non-max Pokemon. The other reason I'm using it is because I was looking at the best ways to hit Virizion with Gigalith. Virizion resists most of the other attacks that it can go for, especially if it's Dynamax. It's just gonna really not take much damage. I was like looking at like how much max defense body press would do, but it's not very much. But I was like, hold on, Explosion straight up does like 40 to 50% onto Virizion, even if it's Dynamax, right? If it's not max, it might just pick up the one-hit KO depending on how much bulk it has. And so this allows me to just kind of get a ton of damage off against a lot of things, especially the Dynamax Virizion, which I think is going to be the main max Pokemon in this set. I want Rock Slide and Stone Edge just for coverage here in the end. You know, same type of attack bonus. It's very, very powerful. And Earthquake, you know, he doesn't have many ground resist, so it can hit a lot. Specifically helps out against Coalossal as well. Classic max HP, max attack. You can see that I'm actually opting for 0 speed specifically with Brave, because in the small chance that he goes with Trick Room here, I will be able to outspeed everything with Gigalith. So I think if he goes Trick Room, you know, the main threat then becomes Steelix, and so we can use a regular Gigalith to dish out a bunch of damage, and then Primarina can just Dynamax and deal with the Steelix most likely. So that's kind of the game plan there. I'm still more heavily leaning towards him leading Sneasel Virizion, so we'll have to see. Next Pokemon is Excadrill. Pretty standard stuff here. Classic EQ, Rock Slide, Iron Head, and Protect. I will say one thing I'm really sad about that I didn't realize until, you know, the day of the battle. I initially thought Excadrill still got Aerial Ace from back in the day. Because I was on the Smogon, you know, page for Excadrill, and I saw it has Aerial Ace, and I was like, oh, sick, like, this is a really cool answer against Virizion. But, of course, it only gets Aerial Ace through previous generations, and since the WBE is like a VGC League, kind of, it's not legal in VGC because it's from a previous gen move, so we couldn't actually use Aerial Ace. I'm pretty sad about that, because there were a lot of cool things we could have done there. Instead, I'm just opting for the standard set. The thing is that Virizion's defense is pretty bad, where Steel Spike could potentially still pick up the 2-hit KO onto it, which is pretty nice. Also, if, you know, I lead Gigalith Excadrill, I'll just get the boosts off first, get a defense boost, which is really valuable as well. So, standard moveset here. Rock Slide, you know, just to potentially get Rockfall off, which means we don't necessarily need to even bring Gigalith into the battle if I want to enable Excadrill. Max Attack is self-explanatory. The speed investment here, I think, was specifically so that if Virizion gets a max Airstream off, we still outspeed under Sand, because I think it's likely Virizion's going to want to max Airstream into Whimsicott, and then the rest just in defense. I'm running Chople Berry this week mainly for Virizion. One thing I was calculating was +4 max Knuckle into Excadrill, and it's not enough to pick up a knockout with the Chople Berry. Now, of course, he could go for max Overgrowth, but I feel like it's tempting to go for Knuckle in that position, so Chople just covers that option. Also means that I could survive like a close combat as well, so it gives me more flexible options in terms of surviving. I was thinking about something like Life Orb at first, but I was like, what am I actually picking up knockouts with Life Orb that I, you know, don't get otherwise? And there wasn't really any good answer. So Chople was my item of choice. And for the last Pokemon, the real MVP of our team so far, it's been Primarina. So I'm bringing Primarina out this week, as always, and I think it's one of the main Dynamax candidates. Now, the thing about Primarina is that it's really bad into Virizion, so I think I might actually use it out of Dynamax, but Primarina is a must-bring because of the Steelix on the opposing end. If I don't bring it, then I'm going to get walled super, super hard by Steelix. So I need this even as either regular Primarina or Dynamax Primarina just to deal with Steelix. So standard moveset, you know, Hydro Cannon I've been using a lot specifically to get that base 150 max Geyser when Dynamax, but even non-max, Hydro Cannon should just one-shot Steelix, which is really, really powerful. As long as we don't miss, obviously, because it's the same base power. And then Moonblast and Hyper Voice, pretty self-explanatory here. Running max special attack, enough speed investment, I believe, to outspeed Hawlucha under Tailwind, and then the rest is just dumped into HP this time around. So, yeah, that's it for the team. I think there are a lot of different modes we can go with. Whimsicott, Torracat, Whimsicott on Pheasant, Gigalith, Excadrill are all possible leads I'm thinking about going into this game. But obviously, we don't want to just set to one game plan. We want to play kind of flexible. So, yeah. Hey, guys. Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and welcome back to week 6 of the WBE. I'm the coach of the Melbourne Rotoms, and this week we're going up against the 8 Hawluchas. The 8 Hawluchas are actually one of the top 2 teams in the league right now, and they probably have what I think is actually the #1 scariest draft in the entire league. So this is definitely going to be one heck of a matchup. Most of these Pokemon I was definitely expecting the Sneasel, Virizion, Indeedee, and the Steelix. So interesting to see the Bohemian and the Hawlucha as the last 2. So let's see. There are a bunch of different modes I could go with for game 1. I'm kind of anticipating the Sneasel, Virizion, but I also want to make sure I lead something that can beat anything else. In case that doesn't actually come out as the lead. Now, Primarina is probably the best Pokemon to Dynamax if we can knock out Virizion. It's just a big if. So, one of the leads I came up with was Whimsicott on Pheasant or Whimsicott Torracat. I kind of like Whimsicott Torracat here, to be honest. The idea behind this is if I lead Whimsicott Torracat, I have Double Kick on Torracat, so what I can do is Tailwind Double Kick Sneasel turn 1. That means you either fake out the Whimsicott to deny the Tailwind, or I just get the beat up off. I think that's pretty valuable. Primarina in the back, and I think probably Excadrill is the last one. The other lead I could go with is Whimsicott on Pheasant here, because I'm running Choice Scarf on Pheasant. That could just dunk on the Cobalion. Or sorry, the Virizion. I like Whimsicott, Torracat, Primarina. I don't know about Excadrill here. Maybe Gigalith is better. Let's go with this mode in game 1. Yeah, I think Jack's team is just insane. Like, it's so good. And he's 5-0 for a reason, so this is going to be a tough one. But I feel like I at least, I thought about most of what he could bring. The Trick Room option is potentially pretty scary, so that's what I'm going to want to watch out for. Because I prepared super heavily for, like, Virizion, but Steelix could cause some more problems here if that's what comes out. And it is going to be the Trick Room route. Okay, so it's going to be Indeedee, Bohemian. Or Bohemian. How do I want to approach this then? Because I think it's probably going to be just a Trick Room coming out. I also just want to double check Bohemian. Because this thing is not used that often. I'm expecting, you know, like Trick Room. I know he ran a really cool Choice Scarf set week 1. It's actually going to be the Psychic Seed. Okay, so I'm thinking Excadrill Gigalith as a lead if he leads the same thing in the next game. He's got a pretty good special attack. I mean, the good thing is that I have Gigalith in the back, so I could just switch that in. He's got to worry about a potential taunt here, right? So I kind of want a Parting Shot and Dazzle, as I expect him to go for Follow Me Trick Room. Yeah. Let's see. Because I think if you're leading... Yep, there's a Follow Me. If you're leading Bohemian, then you're definitely trying to go with Trick Room right now. But this is where Gigalith can just come in now. Okay, get a little bit of chip. Get a free switch out. That's a cool lead. I definitely was not anticipating it. So I think good prep on his end. So let's go ahead and Gigalith now. I think it should be Trick Room going up if you're leading it. You could just maybe go for like an attack immediately. I believe this gets Expanding Force, right? I would think so. Yes, it does. Yeah, there's Trick Room. Okay, that's actually fine, because I'm min speed Gigalith, so I outspeed the Bohemian now. I wonder if Helping Hand Rock Slide KOs here. Because that's what I want to go for right now. Gigalith into Rock Slide. Helping Hand. I think it'll miss out on the knockout, unfortunately. Does it KO Indeedee? Indeedee's at around 60%. I think so. So I'm leaning towards just Helping Hand Rock Slide here. I think Indeedee's gonna follow me here. Now I have Explosion as well. I was running Explosion for the potential lead. I mean, the question is, what does he have in the back? I'm sure it's Steelix. I think I'm just gonna go Helping Hand Rock Slide this turn. Because I have the Focus Sash here too, so I'll definitely survive any attack. Indeedee switches out, which is fine. Probably Steelix, yeah. So like, I could Explode and then bring in Primarina. Oh, Room Service! That's sick. Wow. Very cool. Okay, we don't miss Rock Slide though, that's good. Ah, so close to a knockout there. Yeah, he's gonna Expanding Force. Okay. Ooh, the Room Service is really, really neat. Okay. Because that means he outspeeds us now. We're super close to knocking out Beheeyem, but we fall short of the knockout just by a little bit. But I think Torracat can come in now. I could have maxed Gigalith, but I think maxing Primarina is the right call in this game. This is a super interesting mode. Now, I don't think, like, I think we have answers against it in the next game. Because I could just lead Gigalith Excadrill in the next game and probably just go, like, Explosion turn 1. So that's what I'm thinking for game 2. But let's focus on the match in front of us right now. So we got the Intimidate off against Steelix. We're pretty bulky here. Like, I'm leaning towards Will-O-Wisping into Steelix. I could also switch out. Steelix will probably want to KO the Gigalith here. I mean, if we can burn Steelix, that puts us in a pretty good spot, even if we are down Pokemon. So I'm leaning towards Will-O-Wisp here. And Rock Slide. It is a shame we just missed out on the knockout there, but that was kind of expected. He goes for Wide Guard, but I'm actually okay with that, I think. Because it means I get the WoW off. But I could have just gone for like Stone Edge to cover the Wide Guard option. That was cool. Yeah, so there's another Expanding Force. Okay, I didn't think about Wide Guard there. Torracat does take so much damage here, though. So we are playing from pretty behind now. Very cool text. Okay, so Beheeyem has Expanding Force. Steelix. Oh, and it has 1 HP left. Okay, that's fine. It's down to Primarina, though. I'm not sure Primarina can pull it off. Steelix with Room Service and Wide Guard. I should have if we Stone Edge there, we'd actually be in a really good spot, I think, because then we don't even take any damage with Torracat. That was the only move I could have gone for, though. I didn't want to risk missing, but I should have covered for the Wide Guard option. I'm really curious what his last one is. Maybe Virizion? There's 2 turns of Trick Room left. Steelix is super slow right now. I think I'm leaning towards just Heat Wave, max. Beheeyem not fainting is bad, because I can't KO it here. There's still 2 turns of Sand, so what I could do is actually just give up Torracat here and let the Beheeyem faint. So, like, just protect here. And then it's going to be Primarina 3v1. I don't know if we can pull it off, but we'll see. I have a game plan for game 2, though. Okay, it just goes for Iron Head. So I thought the Steelix was going to max there. The Expanding Force is definitely hurt. But Steelix isn't a threat, nor is the Indeedee, really, so it comes down to what his last one is. If it's Virizion, though, I think we're going to lose, and I'd be surprised if it weren't Virizion, but if it were like Hawluchas or Sneasel, we're actually fine. So, yeah, I mean, at least I didn't Heat Wave. Trick Room is pretty bad. It's the main, the Room Service that was a really smart tech. But I think we have pretty good ways of denying Trick Room in the next game, so I'm not, like, that worried. Because I think I want to lead Excadrill Gigalith in the second game and just explode Rock Slide turn 1. Okay, so Indeedee comes back out. I think we have to max Primarina now. And go for a Geyser. Is there a reason to Starfall? With Life Orb, it probably KOs Indeedee anyway, right? I could see NDD protecting here, but I think we still need to target it down. Yeah, because we're going to take too much damage anyway. We could Starfall to change the terrain, actually. Yeah, because we don't need Geyser to beat whatever's in the back anyway, and I'm pretty sure Life Orb Starfall's a KO here. So, I do think Primarina could potentially pull off the 3v1. It really comes down to what his last one is. But, I don't know. I thought Steelix would be the Dynamax Mon, but he made a good decision to not Dynamax there. So, that was really neat. Yeah, if I just went Stone Edge, Will-O-Wisp instead, we'd be in a much better spot. So I didn't really think about Wide Guard because I thought Steelix would definitely be maxing there. Okay, just Iron Head. Okay, it's good to confirm that we outspeed the NDD here. Wasn't sure if that would be the case or not. Okay, it does faint. So now it's a question of is Virizion the last one? I would think so, right? Like, what he brought so far doesn't beat Primarina at all. So it's got to be Virizion, I think. Which is really cool. So his strategy was kind of use Steelix in Trick Room and then use Virizion in the late game, which definitely was not something I was anticipating. But if it's Hawlucha or Sneasel, I mean, I think we win, but there's no way it's either of those. I think it's got to be Virizion. So let's see. Yep. Nicely done. Well done. It's a really cool strategy. I was thinking he might go with Trick Room, but I definitely wasn't expecting the Room Service either. I think that mode was really, really smart. But I have a couple tricks up my sleeve that I think we can reveal for the next game, so I think it's alright. Virizion should just one-shot us with Max Overgrowth here. Because if we just went for Stone Edge and we didn't take that damage onto the Torracat, then I have Torracat for Intimidate later on in the match, right? His lead was also really smart because I had a lot of ways to counter Virizion as a lead, but Virizion in the late game is super, super good against my entire team. Like, I prepared pretty hard for it, but it's still just kind of a monster against everything I've got in the back. Yeah, so there's Overgrowth. And Trick Room times out, unfortunately, just at, like, the perfect time. Primarina does hang on, though. I don't think we KO. I mean, I don't... I'm wondering if the Steelix can actually knock us out here, because if we can actually, like, get a crit and one-shot the Virizion, we actually win. Oh, we have Life Orb, though, so no. That only takes 40%, which makes me think it's Assault Vest. I'm almost confident that's AV. So that's good information to know. Okay. So his plan was always to Dynamax Virizion in the late game. That's a really smart game plan. Yeah, I mean, I kind of expected Trick Room, but the tricky thing about Jack's team is it's really hard to cover for both the Trick Room lead and the Virizion lead. But I know exactly what to do in game 2, I think, which is just lead Excadrill Gigalith and just go for Rock Slide Explosion turn 1. That should pick up a double KO. Yeah. I'm actually curious if Explosion itself knocks out Beheeyem. Gigalith into... I wouldn't think so, but... Let's see. Yeah, it's not a KO. Rock Slide Explosion should be a KO, though. So we could just pick up a double knockout turn 1, which would be huge. I could play this next game really aggressively. Because I think Unfezant actually needs to come out now. So I want to lead Excadrill Gigalith with Unfezant in the back as my Virizion answer. Yeah. The tough thing with, like, if I let just Excadrill Gigalith in the first game, maybe it would have been fine anyway, actually. But the one thing I was worried about was, like, Sneasel plus Virizion. So he could make that adjustment and go Sneasel Virizion in game 2. But he probably feels relatively confident in his ability to set up Trick Room. So I want to go Gigalith, Excadrill, Primarina, and Unfezant this next game. Because what I can do turn 1 is just Rock Slide Explosion, and then it's a 3v2 immediately. If I knock out Indeedee, then Unfezant just Brave Birds and KOs the Virizion. Yeah. This is kind of one of the problems with what I drafted. Whimsicott and Torracat don't really do very much damage, so if I don't call the lead correctly, it's often going to be pretty tough. So we'll see if he makes any adjustments or goes with the same things. I could also see him maybe switch out Beheeyem turn 1, which could be a problem. I mean, one play I could make is also just click double Rock Slide, but I really don't want Trick Room to go up. Because if we can deny Trick Room, then I think we're in a pretty good spot. So, let's see. His draft is just so well executed, though. Okay, he goes for the same thing, which is what I want to see. Yeah. Okay, so Sand is up this time around. Like I said, I don't think double Rock Slide's a KO. I don't want to risk it on a potential... The only question is actually, is there a reason to Dynamax Excadrill here? Because he could just click double Expanding Force right now. That would be pretty bad, actually. I'm leaning towards the Explosion Rock Slide play. Yeah, this is in my favor, I think, because I don't even know if double Expanding Force KOs the Gigalith. Okay, perfect. That's what we want to see. So as long as I don't miss. Okay, that hits. Good. Yeah, this should be a double KO. Perfect. Okay, nice. So we get the Explosion off. Perfect. Because now he's going to have Virizion in the back, right? And we know it's the Assault Vest. I just want to use this time to actually confirm that. Virizion. But I mean, it was a max Starfall, right? Like, with Life Orb. Yeah, there's no way that's not AV. Item. It's a really bulky Virizion. He's probably like max HP AV. Wow. Okay, well, we just go on Pheasant now. And because we know it's Assault Vest, we just go Brave Bird into it. I mean, yeah, like, this was my game plan, right? So it worked out, but now I gotta start thinking about Game 3. Virizion shouldn't be able to protect, so we can just Brave Bird EQ here, and then bring in Primarina. Alright, Pheasant gets to come out today, too, which is always cool. Is there any reason to go for anything but Brave Bird Primarina? Let me just calc quickly how much Pheasant does here, but it should be a guaranteed KO with Brave Bird. Brave Bird, Adamant, max attack against max HP is still a KO, yeah. So we're just safe to Brave Bird, because then Primarina just maxes and beats Steelix. I gotta think about Game 3 now, though. There's no Coalossal to worry about, but he could totally lead Sneasel Virizion. This Virizion's slow, though. Actually, I mean, it could just be max HP, max attack. Or max HP, max speed. He also doesn't know I'm Scarfed yet, so he might still be baited into maxing Virizion, but this is where the Choice Scarf comes in handy. Okay. Yeah, he maxes Steelix, which is the correct decision. But Primarina should beat the Steelix. Because 2 Geysers is a KO, and it's not policy either. Plus, we get EQ damage onto it as well. So, because we know Virizion can't protect here, yep. Okay, so game 2, the plan worked, but still scary. Still scary. Steelix took what, like 30%, 25-30% from that EQ? Yep, Virizion feigns. I just want to try to calc Steelix's bulk. I'm guessing it's just max HP, like max attack. He goes for max Quake. So he has EQ. Yep, that's fine. He gets a special defense boost, but max Primarina should beat this Steelix. Like, we just max Geyser twice. Unless he crits us, that's my only fear. But even with the crit, I think we should be okay. Let me just confirm that. Yeah, there's no way it's KOing us. Okay, so let's use this time to think about what I think he's going to do in Game 3. I think he's definitely not expecting Explosion, right? Or now he knows, so he's not... Like, I don't know if Beheeyem has Protect. I don't know if it has Protect or not. Because if it has Protect, you can just Protect turn 1. You could also lead something to beat Excadrill and Gigalith specifically, which I guess maybe would be Sneasel Virizion. And I have really good answers against Sneasel Virizion, but it's basically a gamble of do I think he's going to lead that or not. Either way, let's seal up this game first, especially because I choked in Game 2 last week, so I want to make sure that doesn't happen. If he leads Sneasel Virizion, I lead Gigalith Excadrill, what can I do? He doesn't know I'm sashed either, so what I could do turn 1 is max Steel Spike, and I also have the Fighting Resist Berry, Troupple Berry. So even if you go for Beat Up and Knuckle, you won't KO Excadrill turn 1. It's a big question on what adjustment he goes with. I gotta say, Brave Bird actually did more than I expected there. Steelix obviously has the special defense boost, so I'm assuming it survives this, but let's see. Okay, it still goes down. Nice. Well, it's a fun series for sure. I think he came with some really cool prep. We have answers to it, but now it's the classic mind game of what do you lead with in Game 3? And that's always super, super scary. But I feel like we're both playing pretty well, so I'm happy one way or another because he's a really great player. This was actually his like first time playing VGC, apparently, so it's incredible to me. Like, he has a great front office helping him out, incredible. He's just been so good at battling, and his drafts, or his teams are always like straight fire. Like, he is not disappointed with any of his teams, so yeah, was expecting him to bring some heat into this week. He definitely did not disappoint. I'm glad the Explosion Gigalith saw some play, though. So, let's see. Game 3. Does he make the adjustment and bring Sneasel? That's the big question. Because I could see him going Sneasel and Virizion as a lead. That being said, Excadrill Gigalith still has answers against that. But the main mode I'm worried about is Sneasel Virizion with Indeedee in the back. Because then you have a switch in for the Indeedee. So if I knock out the Sneasel, Indeedee just comes in and then you redirect all my attacks away. Which is part of the problem. So that is pretty dang scary. And that's the mark of a really good team in draft, right? Like, you have so many flexible options, like your opponent's playing the guessing game, as opposed to being confident in knowing what you're going to lead. I could see them going with Trick Room again. Like, they could double Expanding Force on a Gigalith turn 1, which was a possible play I was thinking of. I don't have a super confident lead here, I gotta say. I could lead Whimsicott on Pheasant. Because what that does is it covers the Virizion. But then how do I actually beat Virizion later on? I guess that's the problem. I kind of need Pheasant in the back. I feel like I can't lead it because there's no way I just get a Brave Bird off with it. Plus, because I'm Scarf, it doesn't really do much outside of turn 1. I just, like, I don't feel great about going with the same lead because I've already revealed some of the tricks. So I'd like to adjust my playstyle here. I just don't actually know what that mode is. Because the lead I'm most worried about is Sneasel Virizion on his end. He also could go Hawlucha, I guess, but that wouldn't be that much of a problem, actually. Virizion's just such a big problem for us, though, right? Like, my only way of actually dealing with it is Unfezant in the late game. So I kind of want to have Unfezant in the back again. Part of why I lost game 1 was because my lead wasn't, like, super consistent. So, I mean, if I wanted to hard call him out and say he's leading Sneasel Virizion, I could go, like, Torracat, Whimsicott. But then that's the problem. I have Torracat and Whimsicott out, right? This is so tricky. I'm going with the same 4 because he hasn't seen the Chople Berry on Excadrill. But I think there are a lot of different ways we could have led in this game. I had like 4 different leads prepared for this. I had Whimsicott on Pheasant as a lead, Whimsicott Torracat as a lead. Because with Whimsicott on Pheasant, I can just like Helping Hand Brave Bird turn 1 or Helping Hand Max Airstream. So, I don't know. But at least with this lead, he won't be able to get Trick Room up easily, even if he leads the same thing. Okay, he goes Hawluchas Sneasel, which I'm honestly not that afraid of. Like, I think that's fine. Now, I think it's likely he's going to contemplate an explosion, or sorry, a Fake Out and a Knuckle into Gigalith turn 1. But we have Babiri, or not Babiri, Fight Resist Berry here, which is valuable. I mean, Sneasel doesn't scare me offensively that much. I want to just max Excadrill and Steel Spike into Hawlucha here. That does a lot of damage. I could switch Gigalith out here and go out into Primarina, expecting a Knuckle into that slot. But if he stays in, question is whether a Knuckle the next... Actually, I think switching out is fine here. No, I don't want to switch out. The reason I don't want to switch out is because I need Primarina for Steelix. Yeah. So I'm just going to max and Steel Spike into Hawlucha. Hawlucha isn't that scary, especially because I have Chople Berry right now. But if I had Protect on Gigalith, I definitely would have gone for it here. However, because we have Chople Berry, I think we get a defense boost onto the Gigalith as well, right? So we don't take that much damage, and we have the defense boost on Excadrill plus the Chople Berry. So honestly, I'd rather see this lead because Sneasel does not scare me very much with what I have right now. Ah! That's cheeky. I like that. Okay, because you get the Umbert. I didn't think about that mode. Very cool. But this is where Chople comes in huge. So we should survive. Okay, nice. Yeah. I'm very, very glad I had Chople now. As long as we don't miss Rock Slide, this is a fantastic turn 1, because we just go up 4-2 and I can just max guard Explosion the next turn. But that's a really cool adjustment to Excadrill specifically. Like, you can see, Jack comes prepared every week, man. I was not expecting Self Ice Shard. That's super cool. So please don't... Actually, missing here I guess would be okay, because it means you don't get 2 free switch-ins, but it does end up hitting. Which means now I don't have to worry about Virizion with the beat-up combo specifically. Whew, okay. That was so scary though, right? Because if I didn't have Chople, I'd go down there and we're not in a good spot at all. Although I guess, I mean, we'd lose our max, we'd still get 2 KOs probably, so maybe it's not awful. Okay, I'm really happy to see Virizion because I'm hoping NDD is the last one. Perfect. Because now, Brave Bird cleans up this game, right? It cleans up this game. We just need to KO the NDD. Virizion's definitely going to Dynamax and probably Knuckle. We know Virizion can't protect here either. So the play I'm actually leaning towards is Explosion Max Guard. We haven't won this yet, which is scary. I obviously can get another defense boost though. I actually think just going for a Rock Slide here and Steel Spike is fine. If I'm my opponent, I'm protecting NDD here and targeting Excadrill. But if we KO NDD, we win the game. So I think we still Steel Spike that slot. Yeah, so I think we have the right Pokemon in the back. I maybe would have preferred to have like... No, I think what we have in the back is fine. Let me actually calc whether the Virizion KOs us if we're at +2 defense. Virizion into Excadrill. +2 defense, Dynamax, Knuckle. Oh, I think it might still KO. NDD follow me's though. Okay, I think that's the game then, because Unfezant just wins now. Unless I somehow miss out on the KO with Steel Spike and Rock Slide. We could miss Rock Slide, I guess. Oh, nice. Okay, it's Sash NDD. Let's go. That was a really fun set. I mean, it's not over yet, so hold on. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, but I think we should be good now. Yeah, Knuckle comes out. I'm curious on how much attack investment this thing has. Yeah, it's not a lot. We had, what, 124 HP? He's definitely not max attack Virizion. Like, it's clearly super, super, super bulky. Yeah, so I thought, like, this play was super safe because if NDD doesn't go for Protect, then it's super simple. We just KO it, and then Unfezant wins. If it does go for the Follow Me, we win. If it protects, I still get the defense boost, and I don't think your Virizion's invested, so I survive with Excadrill, and then I just KO next turn. So, Excadrill Gigalith finally coming out and putting in so much work for us. I mean, with Unfezant in the back, this game is pretty much locked up, so let's just Explosion, Max Guard, and then get Unfezant in safely. I want Unfezant to take the knockout, because this is his true form. I actually, initially, I didn't think Excadrill Gigalith would be the main mode I was going with. Yeah. But it ended up working out pretty well. It's just funny because I came up with like 3 different answers against Sneasel, Virizion as a lead specifically. So I actually think that probably would have been the scariest thing to see as a lead in game 3. Just because the beat up is... Oh, I guess actually though, because I confirmed the Sneasel didn't have Focus Sash, I always could have just gone for Steel Spike into that slot turn 1. So actually, I spent so much time deliberating about my lead, but I actually think Excadrill Gigalith would have been fine in all 3 games because part of what I wanted to do in this set was figure out what the items are in every Pokemon. I wanted to know where the Focus Sash was. That's the main one because Sneasel could have Sash, NDD could have Sash. I was also worried about Life Orb Sneasel, potentially to deal with the Whimsicott, but yeah, now Unfezant comes out. And this is why we drafted Unfezant. Like, it was actually like a critical Pokemon in the 2 weeks that we brought it, right? Like, I don't think we would have won without it, so yeah. Unfezant gets the Brave Bird off, and we end up taking the win. So that definitely felt good. Game 1 was scary. I mean, he came very clearly prepared. I figured he probably didn't feel the need to make adjustments game 2, so the explosion was honestly huge. And then game 3, I think we were in a fantastic spot turn 1 because we just pick up a double KO. And Virizion's a, scary max threat, but that's exactly why I needed Unfezant in the back. When I was looking at this matchup, I was like, first of all, Virizion's special defense is incredible, so it's not even like Primarina and Whimsicott and Torracat do very much damage. I guess I could have actually run Flare Blitz Torracat. But I felt like I needed 2 answers against the Steelix, because Primarina alone I don't think was a good enough answer. So, yeah. First time we go to 3 games, but we end up taking the win, so we are 5-1 now, which I'm definitely excited about. And I'm more excited because we went up against a fantastic opponent who I think has definitely been one of the top players in this league. Undoubtedly, one of the top 3 players. If not the best player up to now, right? Like, there's a reason why he was undefeated. And to me, it's just really impressive. He's, relatively new to VGC and doubles, and he is already just, I think, kind of an absolute monster. So I'm happy we took the win. I think the prep definitely came through. Last week, I was, frustrated because I felt like I still prepared pretty well. I just didn't cover the option of Focus Sash, but sometimes, it's tough to consider every option. And then I also just think, we got outplayed, plus I was really in my head in that game, too, last week. But this week, I'm pretty happy. I feel like, for the most part, there weren't really any plays I would have made too differently. Yeah, I mean, in game 1, I think not going for Stone Edge might have been a mistake, just because I should have covered for the Wide Guard option, because at that point, if I'm expecting Steelix to knock out the Gigalith anyway, yeah, I don't know. I could have missed, though, and maybe Gigalith would have targeted the partner, Steelix would have targeted the partner, so yeah. But, yeah, go check out Jack. He is a fantastic player, and I think definitely one of the favorites to win this league, not only because he's great battler. I honestly think he played this really, really well. I don't think he, made any misplays, but this is just kind of what happens in Draft League, where you have, secret techs that catch your opponents off guard, and, often in Draft League, what I did last week, you go all in on one strategy to beat one specific thing, and so, last week, I lost the Focus Sash Durant, didn't catch, that caught me off guard, and Chople Berry really saved us here, so very glad we ended up having it, because I was debating between Chople and Life Orb for a long time, but in the end, I was like, I think Chopo's more important to help out against Virizion and Hawluchas in the off chance that he brings it, so yeah. That was a really fun battle, though. So thanks to Jack once again. I'm rooting for him for the rest of the league. I'm really excited to see how his journey in the league progresses. And yeah, I'm hyped. That was a hype victory. First time going to 3 games, and I think we were able to show off a bunch of cool things like Explosion, Gigalith, Chopo, Excadrill, and the Unfezant, of course, which I'm happy about. So thanks to Jack for a great battle. Check him out. He's linked in the description below. Thank you for supporting the Melbourne Rotoms as always, and I'll catch you all next time. All right, peace.